good afternoon, wherever you are live. This is Atlantic Online TV, the hope of the TV revolution, the Gambia. I am Mr. Sanyang, the host of the Education Bantaba platform, which always come on away every Monday from 11 to 12 o'clock. And then still acknowledge those at the receiving end, and then schools that always follow these programs, schools like Botrop, Mahat, schools within West Coast, Greater Banjul area, Region 1, and down to Region 3, Region 4, Region 5 to Region 6. I'll not forget the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, and then the regional office, and then all the teachers, and then students of this great nation, the Gambia. This is one of your best program in the Atlantic TV, that's Education Bantaba platform. And today, I host my co-host. Honestly, he is the co-host of the Education Bantaba platform for today. He's not wearing the cap of a co-host, but a guest for that matter, and it's a pleasure to host him. He's a mentor, and then he serves as a role model, and then he's still inspiring many young youth, especially in the education arena. There's no other person any moment from now. I'll hand over the mic to him for him to introduce himself. But before he'll take on the podium, the areas I'll discuss with him is about his work, his background, about the industry, about personal insight, future projects, and then fun questions. So stay tuned with me, and then whereby we'll give you the topic. Our topic of discussion today will be based on his own work. That's the Loud Whisper of Silence, a book written by himself. Mr. Busso, you are welcome to Education Bantaba platform.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Mr. Masanyang, and it is a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon, viewers, and good afternoon, everybody who follows the Education Bantaba. It caught me when you said that today you are no longer the host or the co-host. You are not the co-host, and you are the guest. So that is very real. I am Baboucarr E.A. Busso, famously and literally called the icon of truth. In the literary arena, that is how I am famous worldwide. I am very happy to be here today, and I extend my greetings to the audience or the viewers who follow the Education Bantaba. And I thank you for giving me this opportunity today to come here and speak to the world about my book, of course, the anthology, the David anthology, that is the Loud Whispers of Silence. All right, the Loud Whispers of Silence has spoken volume in itself. If I quote Mr. Abduboy, one of my lecturers, he said, even the confluence or the confluence of the figures, they are words, but if you want to look at couples, they are figures. Figures there speaks volume about the text. All right, that is very true. And I also, extend gratitude to anybody who has encountered me or who I have encountered in this particular world, in the literary field. Thank you very much for hosting me today.
Yeah, thank you so very much, Baboucarr E.A. Busso, literally called the icon of truth, for really honoring our invitation. And then honestly, you are so great. And then as I stated earlier, our discussion table focus more on the loud whispers of silence. That's the book written by himself. And in the area we should look at Mr. Busso for now, background about background as an author. The first question will go, what influenced you, your decision to become a writer?
Yeah.
Before that, I think it's very important you tell us your biography,
Yes.
where you start your academic excellence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. I am Baboucarr E.A. Busso, as I said earlier, and I am literally called the icon of truth. I hail from a village, a small village in Opanyemi called Kabakoto village. Is where I did my primary school, and is where I also did my primary school leaving certificate examination, where I went to Kercheno Umar Upper Basic School. Then it was Kercheno Umar Upper Basic, if you understand the cycle. Later it grew to Kercheno Basic Cycle School. And now it is Kercheno, lower basic school, Kercheno upper basic school, and senior secondary school. From Kercheno, I went to, of course, SL Senior Secondary School, where I attained my high school certificate was. Then I went to the Gambia College in 2010, or 27 to 2010 for my PTC. and I also got my ETC in 2016. That is 2013 to 2016. And from 2019 to 2023, I got my degree, Bachelor's of Arts Education in English Language, cum laude. I would not want to dwell much about my educational background. I'm still a student at the graduate level, actually, and I want to say that The Loud Whispers of Silence is one of the first books I, published as a solo book. But I am a writer who is established in the international scene. I am recognized internationally as a writer who has published in numerous anthologies. They are not anthologies of solo, but they are core anthologies, especially in India. And I have all the certificates of publication in that regard. But as a writer who was inspired to write, I wrote many articles. I wrote poetry. I wrote, in fact, a play that is not yet published in drama. I write in every genre of literature because I have a craving for literature and writing itself. As a writer who is inspired to write, one of the major things that inspired me to write is having to see societal ills that are not being toppled. And if you understand the generation, when I look at the generation, which is the first poem in the Loud Whispers of Silence, address things of that nature, especially, where poetry is through language and imagination, but then language that is aimed to heal societal ills. So this is one of the reasons, not only that, but there are themes of injustice that I write, there are themes of advocacy, there are educational themes, of course. There are sometimes themes of fun or entertainment, but there are themes of morality as well in this particular anthology. Yeah, I think I also wrote a story called The Hakalang. It's not yet published, but it is a manuscript already. Yes.
Yeah, so as I stated earlier, what influenced you to become a writer?
Yeah.
Because all know writing, not everyone can do it.
Exactly.
It's a natural gift.
Yeah.
But for you as an author
Yeah.
of the book, The Loud Whisper of Silence, yes, what influence?
Yeah, I think my inspiration for writing is as a result of my, avid reading craving. I am an avid reader, and as a reader, I understood that sometimes I have a talent that is hidden in me, that is writing. I am a skillful writer, of course, and it's because I have interacted with many strong writers, such as George Orwell, for instance, such as William Shakespeare. I have alluded to his poem, The 7 Ages of a Man. William Shakespeare, when you read his literature, you can be inspired to write, but this particular 7 Ages of a Man holds that all the world is a stage and men and women are merely players. You see, you will understand Shakespeare has also said, in Merchant of Venice, that the world is a stage where every man must play a part and mine a sad one. So if you live in a particular society, you are critical in how society works. For instance, if you look at the Loud Whispers of Silence, it mirrors a society. If you look at the mimetic theory in literature, mirrors the society. It is a reflective form of society. But if you look at the historical part, where you said what definitely intrigued me to write is one of the things that govern society, that is in the historical perspective. It is said that the story of the writer is not far-fetched from the background of the author. Yeah, my background is that of somebody who is underprivileged, somebody who is a victim most time. I am not the victim in the victim, but I wrote to advocate for the victim. In that particular poem where I said the victim. Yeah, it may not be me, but it is anybody who is voiceless, to serve as a voice for the voiceless. I choose this, or I choose to write, to write in order to try to express myself in a manner in which this poetry form, this writing in the poetry form is all imaginative. And, poetry is a language that deviates from the norm, you understand, that deviates from the norm. Look at the society, there is a language that deviates from the norm in this poetic aspect. And it is imaginative, but mainly art for art's sake. Yeah, mainly art for art's sake. Not only art for art's sake now, but in writing, you are what you call art for life's sake. You understand? I shifted art for art's sake, where I definitely use creativity to understand that it is important or it is prudent to express yourself in an evocative manner, like that you are not only the poet, but then you are that particular person who speak for a person who is meted into, or who something is meted onto, but the person cannot speak up.
Mr.
Yes.
Busso, I have a series of questions here, so it's very important we
Yes.
just limit and then we move on to the
Exactly.
next. So please, those are the receiving end viewers. I mean, if you are just joining us, this channel Bantaba platform, and then he's no more my guest. Sorry, co-host today aboard is my guest. That's Baboucarr E.A. Busso, the author of the Loud Whispers of Silence, and then which is about to launch very soon. And then I'm not sure. But anyway, Mr. Busso, the second question, still your background. The second question is, which authors or books have had the most significant impact on your writing?
Yeah, actually, if you look at my writing and in my place as an African writer now, of course, there are some African writers series that I read. People like Chinua Achebe. Chinua Achebe is one of the first people that have an impact in me, and I believe when I read The Things Fall Apart, I read No Longer Is when I was posted at Kuntaya. Not only that, I understand that there is something in me that must, evoke one time, that, is writing. I did not just grow up as somebody who is talented to be a writer. I was, a very shy person, but then I read many other texts, like the text which is Lonely Days by Bayo Adeboale. When I remember that. When I read The Lonely Days by Bayo Adeboale, Bayo had a specific impact on me. I read Ngugi wa Thiong'o's writings. I started with The Devil on the Cross. I also read, the Hamlet, not the Hamlet, that is William Shakespeare, but I wanted to say The Black Hermit, by Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Is a play. Ngugi has a special impact in my writing. Sometimes, even if you read The Loud Whispers of Silence, you will see where I agree with Ngugi, and I also expound in trying to say, yes, this is not only what Ngugi, it says here, but he says something deeper than this. Like, for instance, when he says, what is done is undone. I agrees with him. I agree with him and said, yeah, Ngugi is right in his own, projection. When Ngugi says what is done is undone, he refers to there is nothing that can change something that is already a destiny. But now, he who is black, according to Ngugi, can never be white. White than the amber or the ambi, while applying preaching. So these are some of the things that I also try to, expound from Ngugi's text. But when I also read, people like George Orwell, for instance, I understand that somebody must be able to write, because in writing cannot be, cannot be in the absence of political, economic, social, of those particular characters, and especially egoistic, what do you call aesthetic or aestheticism. These are things that I have. These are talents in me. Like, for instance, when I express, you see beauty in my expression. Example, when I said on a long nap, you see, I was not sleeping. But I said on a long nap, I was not also waking up from my sleep. But I said on a long nap, I had the clap of thunderstorm. So these are things that happen in society that you want to narrate. They come in the form of sometimes inspiration, sometimes in the form of instincts or intuition. Then you have to write, you have to express your feeling. That is why William Wordsworth says, poetry is the spontaneous overflow of what or feelings, powerful feelings. But this did not only come to me, just like Robert Frost said, it's the expression of thoughts and feelings. This is what I do.
Yeah. Busso, now we move directly to your work, and then the first question will focus more on the Loud Whisper of Silence, and then that's the, of course, collection of
Exactly. Yes.
And then, so the question is, what inspired you to write the book?
Yeah, this book is not something that has come. It should not have been my first book. No, it was supposed to be Feeling the Pearls of Wisdom. I've read, the Pearls of Wisdom, and through the Pearls of Wisdom, I've seen how society transform, how people definitely in the society, who live in the society, do things that are wrong, that other people who are serving as observers to them, those activities are supposed to definitely correct those particular societal. There are things that go intertwine in society. That is good and bad. Sometimes ills, or evils. These are things that are definitely uh, are supposed to be taken care of by writers or people who place themselves in the creative form or creative art to ensure that they don't only express their creativity, but they have observed things in the society that correct wrongs or ills. That is part of silence came, because in 2024, I published, some articles or some books. Understand? I published some poems in some anthologies. So this year, I had wanted to publish the Peeling the Pearls of Wisdom or Peeling the Pearls of Wisdom. It was supposed to come, or the Hakalang, which are all pending because of financial factors, perhaps. But the Loud Whispers of Silence schemes having constituting 52 poems. Yeah, these poems are not written yesterday.
Collection of 52
Yes,
poems.
52 poems. They are not written yesterday, but they are a collection of my poems, of my works from maybe around 2016, 2017. It depends on which one I chose to come in the Loud Whisper of Silence. But it doesn't mean that this is what I sat and wrote at the same time. No, these are different collection of poems, but there are other poems that came because of my own feat in literature. That means I attained some, greater feat, like winning the Poet of the Year
at the university.
Not only at the university. I was the most prolific writer in Edusa in 2022.
Okay.
And I was also nominated to contest in the UTG SU most prolific writer, even though I did not win that award. But I also won the Poet of the Year in the African Poetry, Giant. This is hosted by Neto Abel. This man is from Nigeria, but he is based in Ghana. So when he gave me the Poet of the Year there, because of my contribution in every challenge, weekly challenge, and I always won the weekly challenges. So by the end of the year, I was part of the 100 people in Africa who were recognized by him from the 32,000 people who joined the platform. That is why I said I am the giant bat. That's how he calls me, the giant bat in poetry.
Busso, honestly, you are so great because you are not only recognized in the four corners of this country, but I would say internationally, especially in Africa. I think you are one of the great assets we have. So, and then you are a pillar in education. Mr. Busso, still we move on. You still on your work, about your work. And then what themes, messages do you hope readers take away from your book, Loud Whisper of Silence?
Yeah, there are a lot of themes that are there. That is why I don't want to be the writer and be the critic. I am a literary critic. I critic literary works, but I am a brilliant writer, as this anthology holds. I don't want to be the critic of my own work, but I want to say that, of course, even the title itself is a it can be a paradox, you understand, paradoxes of life, because the world gives two particular worlds. There are two worlds, the universe gives two worlds. There is a world that we live in and another world that is abstract. You have the physical world and the abstract world, for instance. I contrasted this using an oxymoron. If you are a reader who sees it as a literal device, that is an oxymoron. You have a lot of imageries there. If you don't want to see it as an oxymoron, you have a different lens, Mr. Sanya, that you can see it. You can see it as a paradox. You can also see it as just a position of a contrast of two words that are contrast, or different words that can be interpreted in different ways, depending on how the literary critic who has a different lens see it. But then if you go to the historical background, or the moral, approach of literature, you can see this particular text, for instance. You can see the text as something that have different imageries, if you want the imageries, but there are themes of love there are themes of hatred, there are themes of injustice, social injustice, there are themes of corruption in writing. There are, of course, themes of abuse of power, there are themes of education in my writing. Sometimes I believe if you blame people for not being aware and you don't create a space to make them aware, then you are complicit to their ignorance.
Yeah, Mr. Busso, writing, and then have around 50 collection. According to you, say that it's not only written in one night.
No.
So it has been written, I will say, many
Yes,
years ago. So the question is, what challenges did you face while writing? Out.
Yeah, actually, there are many challenges, numerous challenges that I have always been facing in writing, not to produce the work itself, but having the ability to compile it, and when it is compiled, to publish it. Like I have depending manuscript, I told you, that is the Hakalang. Yeah, still now, it is not yet published because I don't have the fund to publish the two books at the same time. And this is why I have to thank the Poetic Essence publications, where I have published in different occasions, especially their monthly magazines. I published there until they recommend me as a very good writer, and they even wrote one of my recommendations when I was applying in one of the universities. You understand? And now they told me, if you have a compilation of your work, and you bring it for us to publish. And do you know, you will not believe it, Mars. This book, I don't pay the loan so far for the publication fee. Yeah, because it is published based on loan. They loan it to me, but they said you can sell this particular material. You can print it out in your own country and sell it until when you are able to have the finance, then you will pay us. So this is not only something that is simple. It's because I have tried to be evocative in my poetry.
Yeah.
I have tried to go outside the country, and I tried with the Indians and publish my work there. So in terms of writing, I don't face any problem, but in terms of publication, I always face problems.
Due to finance.
Yeah, due to financial reasons.
Yeah, we move quickly because
Yes.
we are running out of time. We move quickly about the industry. The industry. What are your thoughts on the current state of the publishing?
Yeah, the publishing industry, do you refer to the Gambia? The Gambian publishing industry. Yeah, it is a challenge for the Gambians, especially young writers like I am or any other person who faces a similar situation. The publishing industry, of course, is not very vibrant, and few people who have access to publication have to use different form, and they have to be supported by their maybe relative who are well off. But people who are underprivileged find it difficult, more difficult in fact, to publish. I think we in the Gambia we don't have much publication. If you go to the problems that face literature in the Gambia, let me say it very broadly, you have only few publications that are famous, and one of them is the Fuladu publishers. You understand? I don't publish with the Fuladu publishers. I publish with the Poetic Essence publication in India. There is a reason for it. One of the reason is access to publication. Stuff like. If I go to Fuladu, they will ask me to publish with them, but based on certain conditions. Financial issues will come into play where I may not be able to pay the amount they will ask me.
Okay.
So then I cannot publish with them.
So personal insights. What do you enjoy most about being an?
Yeah, actually, when I published this particular book, many people texted me, and some people called me. They demand the hard copy of the text, and they were commenting me for writing or publishing my work because they have seen my works, so many times, and people have a passion for reading my work. Not only people who are students, but even those who are my lecturers sometimes. I remember meeting my former dean, Ajufu. He says, CCs, and I quote, he told one of my friends, did you see Mr. Busso's literary works? This man is so poetic, or is so, prolific in writing. So that is how I am. I am a prolific writer. In fact, I write with passion, you understand, commitment. Otherwise, I was not going to continue writing because there were a lot of factors that hindered me from writing, including factors from jealousy, you understand, hatred among people who think they are the best, or they can challenge my writing or challenge whoever writes in society. And that is injustice.
Yeah.
That is one of the things I stand for as a writer.
Okay, and then we move into our second to last question is your future projects. What do you hope to explore your future writing?
Yeah, actually, as a writer, I have many writing projects to embark on. One of them is, of course, the Hakalang to publish next. It is part of this particular project, But then the future project also holds that when I continue to serve as a writer, I must invest in literature itself. Must, if you are a literature teacher, you will understand in this country that the power of reading is dying, or the craving of reading is dying, and therefore it is affecting literature itself. Whenever literature is affected in a country, the country itself is affected in such a way, because there is no country that can go faster in development than the literature itself grows in development. So I have an intention, because I went to Baboucarr Basic Circle and I awarded the best literature student there. I was invited, and surprisingly, I saw in the letter that I should sponsor the literature, the prize for literature, which came to me as a very great pleasure to do. It was a pride I had to cross on Thursday, and then on the 24th, I presented the prize to incidentally, it was my nephew who won it, Busso. I expressed my gratitude to him, and I also try to encourage people to invest in education, especially in literature itself. So my project is going to be one of the things I want to do is whatever proceed is acquired from this text, percentage of it is going for literature. I have definitely vowed that I will spend in literature in this country.
Okay, and then our final question is going to be a fun question. And then I'm sure you are ready.
It's going to be
a fun question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you could have dinner with any author,
Yes.
dead or alive,
Yes.
who would it be and why?
Yeah, actually, I have a dream to meet Ngugi wa Thiong'o before he died, from Kenya.
Okay.
Yeah, Ngugi does not only have an influence in my writing, he has an influence in my mindset. Why? Because he has the mindset of an African, mindset. That is, we have to be decolonizing our mind as Africans. We have to live like Africans. And even though, he died in exile, I always had the intention. I even wrote it to one of the authors in Kenya, is Wahu. I told her that I have an interest to see Ngugi wa Thiong'o. But what she wrote to me was Ngugi is not living in Kenya right now. But when he dies, I think I had a great shock that night, when he died, and it is a pleasure to have read his books. Why? Because they also contributed in changing the way I live, the way I treat people. In fact, change. But it is not only Ngugi. I have a great, craving to read Achebe's work, but what Ngugi does is so much of socialist work instead of only, social work. There is a difference between the socialist work and the social work. The socialist work of literature advocates for, providing solutions to problems. In literature, you have to mirror the problems, you have to bring out the problems. But now, this problem gaining solution? Did you offer any way in which the problems can be solved? Now, Ngugi does that. Definitely offer solution for instance, I will give you an example. Ngugi characterized Waringa, Jacinta Waringa. One of the characters who are my favorite characters, but one of the characters who also faces most of the, most injustice, most unjust acts in society. Because sometimes the way she is treated, not the way she is, but the way she perceives herself. Ngugi creates this character and says, Waringa, is beautiful as a character, but she does not realize her beauty. And that is Africa. Africa is beautiful, but Africans do not know that we are.
Africa, we don't realize our potential, and then this bring the end our today's discussion with Baboucarr E.A. Busso, the literally called the icon of truth, and then author of the book, The Loud Whisper of Silence, and then still Baboucarr. What do you think is going to be final word?
Yeah, my final word to the receiving end is a simple thing, that is, we should embrace reading as people. Why? Because reading is so important that whenever you read, you will develop yourself in such a way that you can be resilient in what you have acquired. Knowledge is found in books, one of my lecturers will say. So if knowledge are found in books, you don't need to invest much, just read to acquire the knowledge. And I want to assure the readers, or those who are demanding the loud whispers of silence, that the book is going to be available as quick as tomorrow, and therefore they can make their pre-orders. If they don't want to make pre-orders, then they can make their orders by tomorrow. And the amount to pay is only 300, because this is not a means of generating fund. It is a means of trying to enlighten society, get society being aware, prepare them to be resilient, and then fight the right cause, change the world, not the way it is, but the way it is supposed to.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
so
thank you.
very much, Mr. Busso. And then I don't think today will be our last discussion
Yeah,
whisper of silence,
yeah.
but on having you so that we can plan
So,
with the book
yeah,
and so on, and in which what date and time and so
yeah,
on and so forth.
so,
Yeah, so and then we also be lobbying for sponsors.
yes.
So please, those at the receiving end, if you want to, Mr. Busso, the door is open, and
Yeah.
then he'll try to embrace with his both hands. So please, let's keep on investing in education, because only only way that can develop this nation. So without wasting more time, we still acknowledge the regional office, honestly, Mr. Dabo. He the key follower of the program, and then the director of Region 2 West, Mr. Paul, is also a key follower of this program, and then the head teacher of Brikama Lower Basic School, and then the head teacher of Brikama Upper and Senior Secondary School, Mr. Sedikan, and then the rest of all the principals within West schools within the four corners of this country. Thank you so very much for following the education Bantaba program. That's where education, that's where we can bring all the solutions that all the solution to our education. Without wasting more time, thank you so very much. Till we have our next ballot.